Hey beautiful people, so in today's video we are going to make the second piece of the shirt that I made. This is a straight leg pant with zipper fly front, pockets, pleats, and I followed a tutorial by Phan made with love. So if you don't understand, please check her out. All you need to do is check the playlist and you can see the video tutorial there. I am going to first start by marking my starting points, the bottom and the side of the pant. Then from the bottom I am going to mark my hem, which is 2 inches from the bottom starting points that I marked. Guys, I ran out of pattern paper, so I decided to do this on the fabric directly, so please bear with me. I'm going to try as much as possible to make the lines visible for us to see. Guys, do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and like this video. Now from this new point, I am going to mark the length of my pants minus 2 inches for my waistband. Now my fabric on my table is not big enough, so I had to do this 2 times. Then from that new point, I am going to go down by 10 inches, which is my hip divided by 4 plus 3 inches minus 2 inches for my waistband. On that new line, I am going to mark my hip circumference divided by 4 plus 1.5, and I am going to add another 1.5 to the new line. Then I am going to do the same thing to my waistline. I am going to mark the same line I have on my hip, that is the hip circumference divided by 4 plus 1.5. Then I am going to minus 0.5 inches towards the side seam, okay? But I did that the other way around. I minused 0.5 first before I now marked the initial line. I hope you guys understand. From the line I marked inwards, I am going to mark 0.5 inches downward. From that new mark, I am going to mark my waist circumference divided by 4 plus 2.5 inches for that, which is 9 inches in my case. You're supposed to connect with a straight ruler at this point, but I did not remember. Then I am going to divide my side seam into 3 equal parts, and I am going to extend to the crotch line that we have. With a curved ruler, I am going to connect the waist point to the bottom half of the division we made on the side seam. Then I am going to connect the 1.5 inch extension to the bottom part of the division that we made on the crotch. Now I am going to find out the midpoint on the hip. I am going to mark the same measurements on the hem and the waist, and I am going to connect all the points.
So high I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right.
Now I am going to mark my cuff circumference. Mine is 20 inches, divided by 4 is 5, so I am going to mark 5 on both sides. You can decide to make yours more than 20 inches or lesser than 20 inches if you want. Now I am going to connect my cuff to my side and the crotch. Now that I am done connecting, I am going to use my curved ruler to make a curved line at the crotch because we don't want that entirely straight. Then I am going to extend my hem. Notice that I am not extending it straight, it is more of a slanted line. Now I finally remember to connect the waistline, so at this point I am going to add my dart. Remember our front dart is 2.5 inches, right? So we are going to mark that all the way to the hip line that we have, and we are going to curve the waistline with the curve ruler. Then we are going to add our seam allowance all around, and we are going to cut, and that's that for the front pattern. In order to make the back pattern, I am going to place my front pattern on top of the back, and I am going to pin the front to the back to keep it in place. So guys, I am done pinning the front to the back all the way to the top. And now guys, let me tell you what I did. So from the hem, I extended by 0.8 inches on both sides. Then I went up to the hip right here, this line we have on the hip. Then I went down by 0.5 inches on both sides. Okay, so from this new line right here, I extended it by 0.8 inches and I extended this part out. So what I am going to do now is that I am going to connect this part to this part with a straight ruler. After all of that is done, I am going to extend the other line on the hip by 1.5 inches. Then at the waistline, not from the seam allowance, I am going to go up by 1.2 inches. Then I'm going to mark the crotch line to the back, and I am also going to mark the midpoint too. I am also going to extend the waistline, not from the seam allowance guys, from the initial waistline. And also the bottom part of the 1/3 we have on the side seam.
Kick.
Then I am also going to extend the midpoint, and I am going to mark out the hem line on the back pants. Now that I have removed the top from the bottom part, this is what we have. Now just watch closely so you can get how to connect the lines, okay? From the waistline that I extended, I am going to mark 0.5 inches inwards. Then from that mark, I am going to mark my waist circumference divided by 4 plus 1.2 inches for that. Now I am going to curve the side seam of my pants.
Get kick.
After doing that, I am going to connect the new waistline that we have to the crotch line. So at this point, I forgot to connect that 1/3 line that we have, but everything fell in place at the end of the day. So the way she did it, the 1/3 is supposed to connect to the slant line that we made. Then we are supposed to make another slant line, mark the middle, then use it to mark our curve. I hope this explanation works. Now I am going to mark the midpoint and I am going to mark my dart at the back, and the length for my dart is 5 inches. So at this point I made a mistake because my dart is 1.2, but like altogether it is 1.2, but I went ahead to mark 1.2 on each side, which is not supposed to be. So I was supposed to divide the 1.2 and mark on each side. Thank God I figured that out before I started sewing. I just noticed that something wasn't right and I had to fix it right away. I also had to use my pen to highlight it so I would not make a mistake and sew the wrong dart later on. After doing that, I had to figure out if I was on the right track. Now I am just going to connect the middle lines. After marking the middle, I went ahead to curve my inseam, and I am just showing you guys how I placed the curl ruler in order to get the curve, and how I added the straight ruler in there to finish up. Now I am just going to finish up my hem. As you can see, I already connected the hem extension, and I am going to curve my waist, and I am going to add my seam allowance of 0.5 inches all around, and I am going to cut my back out.
Get kick.
While I was recording, I didn't know my cord was in the way. I apologize for that. On the real waistline, not the seam allowance, I am going to mark 1.5 inches inwards and 6 inches downwards. I am going to connect and I am going to curve. From that 6 inches point, I am going to go down by 1.5 inches, and from the hip line I am going to mark the middle, and I am just going to curve and connect to the 1.5 inch extension. So our pocket is going to be from the middle to the line that we drew. Okay, now I am going to cut one of my pockets and I am going to place it on fold. I am going to make sure that the fold is aligned to the middle of my pant. I am going to transfer all the markings, all the proper markings that I'm supposed to have, and I am going to cut my pocket.
Times don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight.
So these are my two pockets. I am going to place them right sides together. Then I am going to cut out the pocket part, but not underline. I am going to leave a seam allowance for sewing. Then I am going to open up my pockets right sides together. I am going to align them, and I am going to align the front on the pockets. Okay, and I am going to cut the pockets just one side the way or on the line that I cut on the front. I hope you guys understand. For my zipper fly, I made a rectangle of 2x8 and 4x8. So 4x8, I am going to place it together like so, and from the middle I am going to mark 1.5 inches towards the raw edge, and I am going to connect that to the rest of the zipper fly and cut out because it is not supposed to be straight. Okay, now to the other piece of the zipper fly, the 2.8. On one side I am going to mark 1.5 inches upwards, and I am just going to curve it out, and that gives us that zipper fly look that we want. Now these are the pieces that we need for my zipper fly. Then for my pockets, we need 2 identical pieces right sides touching. For the front pieces, 2 pieces right sides touching. Don't forget to transfer the markings, the dots, and for the back also we need 2 pieces. Don't forget to transfer the dots. Okay, now this is my back. I already ironed the midpoint in order to give us that crease, right, all the way to the bottom. And now for my dots, I am just going to sew in my dots the normal way that we sew that. This is my front piece. I already ironed the crease to the midpoint, and the way I did the pleats, I marked the pleats where they ended. I placed them wrong sides touching, and I folded towards the crotch. You can decide to fold towards the pocket if you want. She folded towards the pocket, but I don't want that look, and I already added interfacing into the pockets. So my back dart is sewn and ready to go. Do not forget you're doing the same to the other side, and my front pleat too is sewn and ready to go. Like I said earlier, I already added interfacing to the pocket. to the pocket side or pocket place. I really don't know how to describe that. Then I am going to place my pockets, the curved part, right sides touching the trouser. Okay, I'm going to place them right sides touching, and I am going to sew. After sewing, I am going to open up and I am going to understitch. Now after understitching, I am going to turn my pockets to the wrong side and I am going to top stitch. After top stitching, this is what we are looking like. Then I am going to take my pocket piece and I am going to place them wrong sides touching, and I am going to sew the bottom part alone. After sewing, I am going to flip to the right side. Then I am going to iron. Guys, I have not been ironing because we did not have lights. We didn't really have lights all throughout when I was making this pants, so please iron if you have lights. Then I am going to top stitch, and after top stitching, guys, this is what we have right now. I am going to align the pocket to the waistline, and I am going to baste the pockets, the waistline, and also to the inseam, okay, so that it stays and it is not moving and disturbing. So after sewing, this is what we have on both sides. My pocket is now sewn to the pants, and now let us work on our zipper fly. So I already interfaced both pieces, and this is my zipper, just a regular skirt zipper. Now I am going to place the straight one right side touching, and I am going to sew the bottom part shut. After sewing, I am going to flip to the right side and I am going to close the opening shut. Okay, so normally we are supposed to serge the opening shut and serge the entire curved zipper fly, but I do not have a serger and I'm just using what I have to make it work. Besides, I am not selling this, it is totally for me, so I can make do with it. And my material frays a lot, like the fabric was just fraying, so yeah, I was supposed to like serge the entire fabric itself. Now guys, we are going to take one piece of the front pattern. This particular piece, after we are done sewing, is going to be on the left side of the front, so that is the piece that you want to take. And I'm going to place my curved zipper fly piece. I'm going to place it right side touching, and I am going to sew. After sewing, I am going to understitch, and I already added interface into the other side of the front. I am going to fold and press, but the way I am folding, it is fading as it gets to the end. I am not folding all the way to the end. Okay, so guys, after doing that, like I said, I already understitched. Now I am going to bring my zipper and I am going to place it on the zipper fly right side touching, so the wrong side of the zipper is facing me and the tip of the zipper is to the understitching of my zipper fly. I hope you guys understand. I am just going to align like so, and the place where I am putting the pin on is where I am going to sew. After sewing, this is what we have. Now I am going to fold the entire zipper fly to the wrong side of my pants. I am going to take the zipper head out of the way and I am going to use my pen to mark where the waistline meets the zipper. Now I am going to take the other piece of my zipper fly and I'm going to place the top edge to the line that we marked on our zipper. I am going to pin to my zipper and I am going to sew. After sewing, this is what we have. I am going to take the other piece of my front panel that we ironed. I am going to place it on that line that I have on my zipper and I am going to sew. After sewing, this is what we have. Our zipper fly is coming to life. I am going to take my front panels, I am going to place them right sides together and I am going to sew the crotch, but I am going to stop before I get to the end, so I'm going to leave about 1.5 inches and I'm going to start sewing at the bottom of the zipper stopper to where I marked, not all the way to the end. So this is what we have after sewing. Remember, I didn't sew all the way to the end. Now I am just going to mark 1.5 inches or where your zipper fly ends. I am going to mark it like so and I am going to curve when I get to the bottom. Okay, so the bottom is under the zipper stopper and I am just going to use my chalk to mark it out to be a guide so I can top stitch. But the way I am going to top stitch, guys, I am not going to top stitch the other part of the zipper fly down. I am going to flip it in such a way that the top is flipped out of the way and the bottom is part of what we are top stitching, so that we can catch the bottom and not catch the top. I hope you guys understand the explanation. So I am done top stitching. As you can see, we cut the end of the zipper fly and not the top. Okay, so this right here is my zipper fly. Tell me what you think about it in the comment section. Now that I am done with that, I am going to place the front and the back piece right sides touching each other and I am going to sew at the side seam. Now that I am done sewing the side seam, I went ahead to iron my seam allowance open. Now I am going to sew the inseams from the crotch down to the hem. So my inseam is sewn. This is what I have. Now I'm going to take one leg of my pant right side out. I am going to place it in the other leg. The idea is for both to be right sides facing each other so that we can sew our crotch. And the way I am going to sew the crotch, the way Thuy showed, I am going to sew the crotch 2 times. I am going to sew all the way to the end and back again. So guys, the crotch is sewn. This is what I've got. Let me know what you think about this so far. Okay, so guys, it is time for me to sew my hem. Remember, my hem is 2 inches and I am just going to mark like so, and I am going to fold twice and I am going to sew all around. In order to make my waistband, I am going to fold my pants at the waistline like so. We are just going to find out half of the waist circumference that we have, and when I measured mine, it was 14.5 inches. I don't know why. Okay guys, the height or the width of my waistband is 2 inches, so I marked 2 inches by 14.5 on my interface.
I want to show you guys what I did on the waistband because I ran out of storage. So first off, I marked the length of the waistline that we had. So this is it right here, and mind you, my interfacing is on fold. So this is it right here, and the width of my waistband is 2 inches, or you can make it 1.5 or whatever it is that you like. Then I marked the width point, the midpoint rather, the middle of this waistband like so, and this is it. Then I marked 1 inch here, and I marked the middle of my 2-inch here. Then I connected it to the middle of the waistband. Then I curved it, so the line below is curved. Okay, then I am going to cut it out like so, and I'm going to iron it to the fabric. So guys, this is my interfacing, and I added half an inch seam allowance. So when you are done connecting the 1 inch, you just measure about half a centimeter, you mark it down, connect it, and you cut out this extra part. I already did that here, so I am going to repeat it here. So this is it. This is what it is looking like. This is what it is looking like right now. And I cut another piece underneath, so we are cutting 2 pieces. And remember guys, our interfacing was on fold, so here we are cutting 2 pieces, right sides touching each other, and I am going to sew like so.
So after doing that, I am going to understitch, and after understitching, I am going to mark, I am going to add my bias tape to the side of the waistband that has no interfacing. For my belt loop, I only picked one of the pieces of the fabrics that we have. I didn't follow any measurements, so I'm just going to sew on that pieces all the way to the end till I don't have any space to sew anymore. I am going to turn the sewing to the right. I am going to trim the seam allowance and turn the sewing to the right. After turning it to the right, we are supposed to iron, but I am not ironing, so I am going to top stitch the belt loop on both sides. So this is it after top stitching. Now the length of my belt loop is 3 inches, and I am going to be needing 5 pieces. Now I am going to figure out where I want my belt loops to be.
So high, I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Times don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight. Fly forever if you keep it tight. Love the world, but keep the sky on your mind.
Now I am going to finish the edges of my waistband, place them right sides touching each other. I am going to curve the side that has the bias, and I am going to sew and turn to the right side. After that is done, I am going to place my waistbands wrong sides touching, and I am going to do an understitch on the waistline, which I have never done before.
Gets kick.
After that is done, I am going to sew the remainder of my belt loop in place, and I am going to fix my hook and eye. And after that, guys, my pant is done. Do let me know what you think in the comment section. Did I kill it or did I not kill it? And this is the set, guys, the shirt and the pants. See you in my next video.